Hi everyone, this is an addendum to episode 9, Facing Mortality, Removing Stress. Yesterday when I took that video, I was quite sleep deprived, and because of being sleep deprived and I don't have much energy in a day anymore, it makes me vulnerable to my emotions, as you have seen before. I have decided to post episode 9. I wasn't going to, but I have decided to post it along with this addendum. You know, I got a text message from a friend who's in Taiwan, who's looking after her mother. So she's the caregiver and her mum's the patient. And she has dedicated, since 2020, her life to looking after her mum. You know, and I've got a sister-in-law who has done the same, looking after her mother as well. I'm not saying since 2020, but she is a caregiver and she looks after her mother. I take my hat off to people like that. And that's not what I was talking about yesterday. I was talking about what I'd like to clarify yesterday was that here I go again, do I have to pause it already? What I was talking about yesterday was where my request from a person was being completely ignored, and it was a fair request. And when people, it's the fine line between caregiving, you know, but I don't want to make this actually about caregiving. I want to make it about stress and how we've all got to keep the stress out of our lives as much as possible, because we have our day-to-day stresses. And it's really stressful for a caregiver to look after a patient, you know, and they are going through so much as well, because they've got their own lives that they're trying to live, as well as looking after the life for someone who needs help. Do I let the camera keep rolling? I need to blow my nose in. So I wanted to have this addendum because I take my hat off to all you caregivers out there. Because you are in a thankless job, more or less. And you need to pat yourselves on the back. But my concern, like I said, for my mother, was getting her to stop, especially when I could look after myself for so many things. She just wanted to care, but she had enough on her plate. You know, you can see stress. Stress is a killer. Your body can't handle that constant inflammation all the time. The body can't cope. I'm living proof. So whether it's someone else putting a nail in a coffin or yourself putting a nail in your coffin, where was I going with that? Stress is a nail in the coffin. And we take it for granted because we are in such a fast-paced times. You know, like they say, we've got all this stuff to help us get more hours in the day, and yet we are even busier than before. Washing machines, dishwashers. You know, I've got this video here on my camera, so I don't have to get the film out, and I don't have to go to the chemist to get it processed. Young people might not know what that means. No disrespect, of course. But yeah, it's been bothering me. It bothered me last night because I wasn't sure whether to post episode 9. I had to laugh at it actually, because I was talking about things to help you get through, and I had said be happy, and I had this and every time I watched it I laughed. Now obviously when I say be happy, I mean be happy, to help you remove stress. But I've actually got a video on all the tools it'll be episode 10, of all the tools I use to help me get through the crappy times. And there'll be tools for people who are caregivers, as well as those who are patients, as well as those who are just going through crap, I guess. That will be episode 10. So, and completely dedicated to how I helped myself. The little tools and tricks I used to get me out of that spiral that we can go into. But yeah, the episode 9 where I say be happy and I've got a frown on my face. Please remember, I am on morphine. And if I don't get sleep, I get very tired and I get very emotional. And I've had people say that they want to see the real side of me. Well, I feel like what I've been giving you is the real side of me. Just without the tears. Because I'm able to talk about a past without the emotions coming forward. But when I'm tired and I think about those things, I'm more vulnerable. We're all vulnerable. And I'm more vulnerable at the moment. Because my weight is dropping. And I'm hoping I can do all of these episodes. I think I've got a third of the way through of what I want to tell you. Of all the things I want to tell you about this journey. From someone who's been told they're not going to survive. It hasn't so far. But I'm still here, defying the odds. Still waiting for that huge miracle. I didn't think I was going to cry on this one, but I'm still tired, I know. So for those who care, really care for others, who put their heart and soul into it, and I've watched it. I've got a girlfriend whose husband was dying years ago from cancer and he survived, coping with a young family. You know, for you caregivers, you have so much stress on your plates. Please be careful, and I say it, please be careful about stress. And make sure you know how you can get through those times as best you can to reduce it as much as you can. And as I said, episode 10 will be covering, not so much from a stress perspective, but I do think those things will actually help stress. They're more for me to cope with getting through each day on chemo and things like that. But I think that they're relevant. Along with the videos, excuse me, I have to blow. Along with the videos that I have done previously on acceptance and surrender. And trying to flow with the stream of life as much as possible. Because we know that when the salmon swim upstream, they exhaust themselves to their death. And I don't want you to die. I know it's inevitable for all of us, but it'd be good if it wasn't from stress, because stress typically leads to disease.